Revealed, the haunted apartment complex with 10 sinister rules you must follow. Dare to discover. Rachel gripped her son Toby's hand tightly, the peeling paint of the apartment complex looming before them felt oddly ominous. The building's cracked windows and faded exterior whispered tales of loss. Faint echoes of laughter mixed with the sharp tang of despair lingered in the air. With her job gone and bills piling high, this rundown place, shrouded in local legends, seemed like her last shot at a stable life. But reality sank in like a heavy rock in her stomach as she dared to cross the threshold. Inside, the air was stale, thick with memories better left buried. The enigmatic tenants Mrs. Hughes with her watchful eyes and the reclusive couple avoiding all contact only added to her unease. Then there was Mr. Hawkins, the maintenance man. His disarming smile felt sinister the moment their paths crossed. Offering assistance with odd jobs, he had a way of standing just a beat too long before turning away. It didn't sit right, yet Rachel was desperate. She couldn't let this insecurity eat away at her. Soon, odd sounds started to invade her nights. Soft whispers twisted through the walls, echoing the giggles of children. Scratches clawed at the edges of her sanity, but she dismissed them, convincing herself it was just stress. What did she expect? A perfect home? But as she began to notice the rules scrawled on the basement wall, Rachel's heart raced. 10 rules, each more haunting than the last. Never cover your windows at night was the least absurd, while never let children play in the East Wing sent a chill down her spine. They hung over her like shadows, whispering that ignoring them could lead to consequences she couldn't fathom. Before she could fully digest that horror, she turned around and realized Toby had vanished. The realization slammed into her like ice water, her vision blurred. Panic fueled her legs as she barreled through the halls, fueled by a primal instinct to find him. Heart pounding, she could almost hear her fear echoing through the eerily quiet corridors. The East Wing herself, haunted by its notorious reputation, called to her, taunting. Creeping shadows constricted around her, and the scratching intensified, mingling with a low, mournful sob. Every door she passed felt like a judgment. The glow of emergency lights threw eerie silhouettes along the walls as she stumbled deeper into the belly of the complex. Then came Mr. Hawkins again, looming in the doorway with that unsettling smile. "Looking for someone?" he asked innocently. Fear nailed her to the spot, forcing raw breaths through her teeth. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue." A loud crash behind her jolted Rachel, slicing through the tension like glass. Instinctively, she turned toward the dark corridor leading into the East Wing. The whispers crescendoed, "You should have listened." Time warped as she caught a flicker of red fabric Toby's shirt. Adrenaline surged. Her heart hammered against her ribcage as she steeled herself to break all the rules. Shadows near her thickened, the air pulsating with danger. She had to choose, flee this nightmare or plunge into the unknown and risk not just her life but her son's too. What awaited her beyond that door could change everything forever. The air in the East Wing was heavier, almost suffocating. Rachel stepped forward, her pulse racing in sync with the pounding whispers that engulfed her. With every hesitant breath, the shadows stretched closer, looming like dark specters waiting to snatch her back into the safety of the known. Each step echoed through the hollow corridor, a reminder of her vulnerability. "Toby!" she shouted, but her voice felt fragile, like the last ember of hope in a forgotten hearth. The whispers morphed into a cacophony of laughter, twisting her stomach into knots. What were they playing at? Fear clawed at her mind, but a greater fear gnawed at her heart. What if she was too late? She halted outside a door at the end of the corridor, the paint chipped and faded. A flicker of panicked energy coursed through her. It couldn't be, could it? No, that sound, that small whimper, it had to be him. With trembling hands, she reached for the doorknob, her breath hitching in her throat. Suddenly, the laughter faded, replaced by a distant, echoing thud. The door jolted against her hand, as if someone or something was trying to escape on the other side. Rachel flinched, her instincts screaming to turn and run, but the bond with her son pulled her back. With a swift motion, she twisted the intricate handle, pushing the door open. The room inside was dark, unusually cold, tainted with a smell that was both sweet and rotten. Her heart raced as her gaze adjusted to the gloom. It felt wrong, totally wrong. The walls were lined with ripped photographs, distorted faces and ghostly smiles that flickered in and out of familiarity. But there was no sign of Toby. "Mommy," came a distant cry, echoing through her mind and reverberating off the walls. Her heart dropped. It was him, a plea that sent a shiver down her spine. Without thinking, she stepped inside. The door creaked ominously behind her, sealing off the outside world and all its uncertainties. She fumbled for the light switch, her fingertips brushing against the wall. A buzzing light flickered to life, revealing a scene that made her scream and step back. The room was a children's playroom, but there was something deeply unsettling about it. Torn toys lay scattered across the floor, their expressions frozen in despair. An old doll with button eyes stared back at Rachel, its mouth stitched closed. In that instant, she felt trapped, as if the walls themselves were alive, trapping her in a suffocating embrace. "Mommy!" Toby's voice called again, clearer this time, coming from behind an old curtain at the far end. With renewed vigor, she dashed toward it, her hope blossoming despite the sinister atmosphere. As she ripped the curtain aside, a rush of wind whipped through the room, cold and jarring. There he was, her precious boy, huddled in the far corner beneath a beam of sickly yellow light. Relief washed over her, momentarily drowning out the ominous presence that loomed behind her. "I was scared, Mommy," he cried, tears streaming down his small face. Rachel knelt, scooping him into her arms. "I couldn't find you. What happened?" She squeezed him against her, glancing back toward the shadows that were seeping into the room. "I don't know, it's like they wanted me to stay." His innocent words turned her blood to ice. Something vile stirred around them, longing to envelop them, and snare them in its web. Before she could answer, a grotesque laughter erupted from the walls, awakening echoes that sounded like children playing, trapped within the very fabric of the building. It morphed into a chorus that felt like it was wrapping around her, suffocating her sanity. Rachel stood up, her determination returning, but with a new edge. It was a twisted game, and she needed to understand the rules to break free. "Come on, Toby. We need to get out of here," she said, her voice stronger now. Yet even as she turned toward the door, she felt the air shift, the walls trembled, whispering unknowable secrets. As they stepped back into the hallway, an icy hand gripped her heart. A loud crash echoed behind them, a warning resonating in the shadows. What had they awakened? The complex was alive with rage, twisting and turning within itself like a serpent restless for its prey. Rachel grasped Toby tighter, fear spilling over as they faced the dark corridor. The echoes of laughter turned into anguished cries, demanding something from them, lingering with a promise of joy mingled with horror. A thin shadow darted past them, flickering just out of sight. The whispers grew louder, more insistent. "You shouldn't have come here." Rachel's breath quickened, the weight of their pact with the building settled deep in her gut. There was no escaping, not now that they had seen and heard what lurked behind the walls. But was there a way to survive? A truth awaited them at the end of the hall, but at what cost? As they shuffled deeper into the maze of madness, the walls closed in, cradling both dread and hope. They just had to find it before the whispers turned into a roar. What had the complex become, and what was it willing to sacrifice to keep them? Rachel's heart pounded as they moved down the hallway, the sounds of anguish chasing them like a pack of wolves. The flickering lights overhead cast eerie shadows that danced along the walls, mocking her desperation. She gripped Toby's hand tightly, her senses sharp, hyper-aware of the sinister energy that pulsed around them. "Stay close," she whispered, her voice low and steady. Every instinct screamed at her to hurry, but she knew they both needed to keep their wits about them. The hallway stretched before them, a murky passage of dread and uncertainty. "Where do we go, Mommy?" Toby's small voice trembled, but he held her gaze with a trust that fueled her determination. "Just keep moving," she answered, forcing her feet to carry them forward, deeper into the bowels of the complex. Behind them, the laughter twisted into a menacing chant, rising and falling like a tide that threatened to drown them both. Suddenly, a door swung open, the sudden movement jolting Rachel. She stopped, instinctively stepping in front of Toby, her heart racing as she peered inside. The room was unlike the others, light pouring in with an unsettling brightness, illuminating dust motes floating in the stale air. "What is it?" Toby asked, clutching at her skirt. "Just stay here," she instructed, edging into the room. It looked almost like a living space, sparse furniture arranged oddly with stark white walls. But it was the large mirror hanging on the far wall that caught her attention. Its surface rippled, as if something was trying to break free from the glass. Rachel approached it cautiously, an otherworldly sensation prickling her skin. As she peered closer, her own reflection twisted into a grotesque version of herself, eyes sunken, mouth contorted into a chilling grin. She stumbled back, gasping. "Mommy!" Toby cried, his small voice echoing her panic. "I'm okay," she reassured, but unease settled in her gut. This place was alive. Whatever fed off their fear was growing stronger. Just then, the mirror shimmered again, and Rachel swore she saw a hand take shape inside the glass, reaching toward her. "Mommy, we need to go." Toby tugged at her, and she turned, feeling a cold breeze whip through the room, urging her back. She rushed to their escape, but as she crossed the threshold, the door slammed shut. The sound echoed like thunder, shaking the walls. Panic surged through her veins. "Open the door!" she yelled, pounding frantically. The whispers returned, swirling around her, chanting cryptic phrases only half heard. Then a voice broke through, clear and heavy. "You cannot leave. What do you want?" She screamed, her heart pounding so hard it felt like it might burst. The walls vibrated with a sinister laughter, resonating within the core of her being. A rumbling sound filled the air, a warning. An unseen force pressed against her, the cold wrapping around her like a shroud. She felt the shadows coiling, ready to strike. "Do you want your son?" The voice echoed, and Rachel's breath hitched. "Leave him alone," she shouted, glancing back at Toby, whose wide eyes reflected pure terror. "You have to choose." The disembodied voice hissed, and the temperature dropped drastically, freezing the air around them. "Choose? Choose what?" she yelled, desperation clawing at her throat. "Two must stay and one will go." Rachel's mind raced. They were trapped in a cruel game, and time was running out. The laughter rose around them, growing louder, more chaotic. A low growl emerged from behind, shadows swirling like a tempest, wrapping tighter around them. "No!" she shouted, panic surging. Fear fueled her decision. She wouldn't leave her child behind to whatever fate awaited him. "We're getting out of here, Toby. Together." With renewed resolve, she slammed her palm against the door, feeling its heavy grain beneath her fingers. The response was immediate. The shadows receded for the briefest moment, a sliver of light spilling through as if the space beyond recognized their defiance. She threw her weight against the door alongside Toby, heart racing, breaths mingling in frantic urgency. They charged forward together, unyielding against the malignant force battling to imprison them. Would they burst through, battered but free, or would the darkness consume them both? As the door wrenched open, the world exploded into chaos, the cacophony of voices blaring in furious anticipation. What lay on the other side would test their resolve like never before. Would they emerge into safety, or step further into the abyss? Rachel's heart thundered in her chest. They were on the brink of an eternal decision. Would she sacrifice everything for the truth? The door flung open, a blinding light pouring in and momentarily banishing the darkness that clung to their heels. Rachel and Toby stumbled through, breathless and disoriented, as the chaos behind them erupted into a cacophony of shrill screams and mocking laughter. "Run!" Rachel shouted, pulling Toby along. Each step felt heavy, as if the very ground beneath them was resisting their escape. The hallway stretched endlessly, bathed in that harsh light, but it flickered and dimmed with every heartbeat. Rows of doors lined the walls, each one seeming to pulse with a heartbeat of its own. "Mommy, where are we?" Toby panted, his small hand slipping slightly in her grip. "I don't know," Rachel replied, her voice fractured. The walls felt like they were closing in, constricting her thoughts until all she could focus on was getting them safe. Ahead, a door ahead creaked open with a sinister groan, a shadow spilling out like smoke. "Help me," a voice moaned, mournful and forlorn. Rachel halted, uncertainty choking her instincts. "No," she said, shaking her head. "We can't stop." But Toby's wide eyes had fixated on the shadow, curiosity fighting against fear. "Mommy, what if they need help?" "Not everyone who asks for help is safe, Toby." Rachel snapped, urgency overpowering every ounce of empathy. She pulled him away from the door, her heart racing faster than their feet could carry them. If they stopped now, she feared they would never start again. They turned a corner and nearly collided with a group of figures huddled together, their faces obscured by shadows. The air shifted, thickening with something unnameable. Rachel tightened her grip on Toby's hand. "Come on," she urged, backing away slowly, but the figures began to uncoil, revealing their grotesque features in the harsh light. Eyes too wide and mouths splitting too far back, smiles that seemed rooted in madness. The laughter returned, louder now, a frenzy of sound that clawed at her ears. "Stay!" one of them screeched, extending a hand, black fingernails twitching eagerly. "We just want to play." "No!" Rachel screamed, her voice breaking. "We're leaving." She turned and fled, Toby in tow, sprinting past the ghastly figures as they erupted into maniacal laughter behind them. They moved through the corridor, dodging the sensations of hands reaching for them from out of the shadows, nails scraping against the walls like nails on a chalkboard. Just down the hall, another door stood ajar, a flicker of movement drawing Rachel's eye. A faint whisper called out from within, sweet and seductive, the language wrapping around her mind like tendrils of smoke. "Join us, you'll be safe." Rachel hesitated, her veins alight with fear. It felt alluring, promising comfort in the depths of dread. But the memory of the iron grip tightening around her heart urged her forward. "Not now. Not now," she repeated, forcing each step. "Mommy, I hear it too," Toby said, his voice trembling, barely keeping pace. "Is it safe?" "Don't listen, Toby." Just before she could finish, the lights flickered one last time, throwing them both into a strobe of confusion. A loud crash resonated from the end of the hall as a figure appeared, shrouded in shadow, blocking their escape. "Where do you think you're going?" It growled, low and ominous. Rachel stood frozen, the walls pressing in on them like a vice. This was the end of the line. She felt Toby quivering beside her, and her heart plummeted. In that moment, she knew they were trapped within a nightmare with no visible end. "Mommy," Toby whimpered, pulling closer as the figure advanced, then froze, eyes burning through the darkness. "Two must stay and one will go," the voice echoed again, heavy and unyielding. Rachel took a step forward, desperation bawling in her throat. "No. I won't let that happen." But a shadow moved in the corner of her eye. The mirror from the other room had manifested in the wall beside them, its surface swirling with conflicting images, a glimpse of their possible futures that twisted like a carousel of horror. "What is it?" Toby gasped, peering into the depths. Rachel's breath caught. "Don't look, Toby." But the pull was strong, and within that mirror, she saw not just reflections, but decisions laid bare, her own face, twisted and horrified. The laughter erupted anew, mixed with the somber whispers of choice, drowning her resolve. As terror clawed at her throat, Rachel discerned that the true battle had only begun. What choice would she make when all hope faded, and the real horror revealed itself. The figure lunged, its silhouette shifting as though it were made of shadows. Rachel stumbled back, almost losing her grip on Toby. The air grew thick with dread, an electric charge that made her skin crawl. "There are rules, you must follow them." The voice snarled, each word dripped with malevolence. Rachel's heart raced as she glanced at the mirror. Frantic images blazed across its surface, twisted visages of herself and Toby trapped behind those same doors, eyes wide with fear, mouths silently begging for release. She wrenched herself back to the chaos around them. "We have to go, Toby. Now." But the hallway felt alive, its walls pulsing with a sinister rhythm that synchronized with the heartbeat echoing in her ears. The shadowy figure began circling them, its form shifting like mist, taunting her as it beckoned. "You can't escape this place. You've already chosen and every choice has a price." "Mommy, what does it want?" Toby's small voice trembled, laced with confusion and fear. "Nothing. It's a monster. Just keep your eyes on me, don't look suddenly." The lights flickered out completely. Drenched in darkness, Rachel's heart hammered in her chest. Panic surged as she realized she had lost sight of the figure. "Where is it?" she whispered frantically, pulling Toby closer. A low chuckle reverberated through the shadows, worming its way into her consciousness. "You can't hide in the dark and you can't hide from the truth." The shadows twisted, stretching towards them like gnarled fingers, each one promising despair. Rachel felt crushing fear choke her. If they stayed too long in the dark, she knew something worse than the figure would find them. It was a ticking time bomb of dread, each second bringing closer a fate she couldn't begin to fathom. "Mommy, I see something," Toby exclaimed, pointing into the abyss. A faint glow emerged, flickering like a candle. Rachel squinted, desperate for any hint of safety, but it simply illuminated more grotesque shapes surrounding them. Desperate faces twisted in anguish stared back, their hollow eyes glistening with tears of terror. "Keep moving," Rachel urged, dragging Toby towards the light, forcing her feet to obey. The laughter echoed again, following them, weaving a tapestry of terror in their wake. As they approached the source of light, it shifted, revealing a door, the door that would lead them out or further in. Each breath was heavy with dread, inching closer to the unknown. What lurked beyond that threshold? "I don't want to go in there," Toby cried, stopping in his tracks, his small frame trembling. "It's the only way," Rachel insisted, realization dawning on her. The hallway may have filled with horrors, but if they hesitated, they would become part of it. "We have to take a chance. Trust me." Taking a deep breath, Rachel handed Toby her last shred of courage. "On three, we're going to run into that door." 1, 2 The air crackled as if the shadows themselves were listening. Then, with a final push of adrenaline, they bolted for the door, feeling the shadows clawing behind them like ravenous wolves. Just as they reached out, the ground beneath them shuddered sharply. The laughter crescendoed into a deafening roar. "You can never escape." The door slammed open, revealing a blinding light that washed over them like a wave. Rachel felt hope and fear collide as they plunged into the brightness. Just as they crossed the threshold, the darkness howled behind them, rattling the very core of her being, and then silence. Toby landed hard on the cold floor, dazing Rachel momentarily. She blinked, attempting to adjust to the sudden brightness. Shadows retreated behind her, shrieking and clawing at the door, but it clicked shut with a finality that reverberated in her bones. Breathless, she gathered her bearings. They were in a new room, stark and sterile, illuminated by an eerie white light. Walls lined with mirrors flanked them, reflecting their anxious faces back at them, but they weren't alone. Figures appeared in the mirrors, trapped, their faces twisted in terror and silence. Rachel felt a chill creep up her spine. She turned to see Toby staring wide-eyed into the next mirror. "Mommy, are they us?" he whispered. Suddenly, a familiar voice echoed from the mirrors, haunting and desperate. "You shouldn't have come here." Rachel's heart dropped. As dark clouds of dread started to gather around them once more, she realized the fight was nowhere near over. What twisted fate awaited them in this new realm? Before she could respond, the mirrors began to ripple, stretching and bending like liquid. Time will tell, the shadows murmured, melding into the reflections, what awaited them on the other side. The mirrors pulsed, swirling with an eerie energy that sent shivers down Rachel's spine. Each reflection twisted into nightmarish forms, as if they were alive, stretching and reaching toward her. The whispers grew louder, a cacophony of voices drowning her thoughts, each one tinged with grief and desperation. "Help us, save us, Mommy, I'm scared." Toby clutched her hand tighter, his small fingers trembling. In that moment, the light in the room flickered, and Rachel glanced at the mirrors again. The figures appeared to move as though fighting against something unseen. Despair shrouded their features, twisted faces revealing horror beyond comprehension. They clawed at the glass, their mouths opened, but the sounds were muted, absorbed by the polished surface. "Please, we thought we could escape," one figure mouthed, its eyes pleading. Rachel felt an overwhelming urge to help them, but deeper instinct screamed at her, "No, don't get involved." "What do they want from us?" she murmured, grappling with the weight of the moment. Before she could answer her own question, the mirrors warped violently, absorbing the light and plunging the room into a surreal twilight. The air around her thickened. A sharp chill spread through her body, raising goosebumps on her skin. A single word echoed through the shadows, choice. Suddenly, the echoes of Toby's voice broke through the darkness. "Mommy, I see a way out." He pointed at the far end of the room where a faint outline of a door shimmered with a beckoning glow. But as Rachel turned to follow his gaze, the desperate faces in the mirrors twisted in anger, their fingers slamming against the glass. "Don't go. You'll be trapped like us," they cried in unison, voices overlapping in a haunting harmony. Rachel hesitated, torn between the menacing warnings and her instinct to keep moving forward. "We can't listen to them, Toby," she urged, forcing her resolve to the surface. "We have to go before it's too late." She grabbed Toby's hand, and together they sprinted toward the shimmering door, hearts pounding in sync. The whispers morphed into a chorus of frantic cries, echoing through the room like an endless loop. "Die! Die! Die!" As they reached for the handle, the glass behind them shattered into countless shards that fell like rain. The figures twisted in agony, trying to push through the splintered reflections, but the shards merely revealed deeper horrors lurking within. Rachel gasped, shadowy hands reached out from the mirror, clawing at the air as if they could ensnare her. "No! We're not giving up!" Rachel shouted defiantly, flinging the door open wide. A searing brightness engulfed them as they stepped through. The world shifted again, but this time, they were transported into a large, empty room, its walls draped in tattered fabric that flapped as if stirred by a distant wind. The atmosphere was suffocating, heavy with the scent of fear and loss. "What is this place?" Toby's voice trembled, and Rachel felt her heart quicken as dread seeped back in. "I don't know, but we have to keep moving," she replied, scanning the room. The oppressive silence was unnerving, her senses sharp. Unexpectedly, a soft laughter rose from the shadows in the corners, an unnatural, chilling sound. "You think you can escape so easily?" The laughter grew, echoing off the walls, relentless. The shadows coalesced, forming shapes that twisted and danced just out of reach. Rachel turned to Toby, her eyes wide with terror. "We have to find another way out. We can't let them catch us." As they edged forward, more figures emerged, flickering at the edges of the light, their faces eerily familiar, yet distorted. Each one seemed to reach out to her, begging for release. "Mom, look!" Toby whispered, pointing to a wall where symbols began to appear, inscribed with ominous shadows. "What do they mean?" The room felt alive now, pulsing with a menacing energy, closing in on them. Rachel felt her breath quicken. What were these symbols? A dark realization crept in. This realm had rules, and they were part of something bigger than just survival. Rachel grabbed her son tightly as the shadows edged closer, hungry for their fear. "Whatever happens, Toby, we stick together." No matter what. But even as she whispered those words, the laughter rose again, and the shadows surged, an ominous wave intent on drowning them in despair. The symbols pulsed brighter, revealing a promise of escape, or drawing them deeper into the unknown. Would Rachel dare to comprehend the command of the shadows? In that moment of swirling dread, a single question loomed: what price would they pay to leave this hell behind? The laughter echoed like a sinister melody, filling the air with a feeling of impending doom. Rachel clutched Toby even closer, her heart racing as the shadows twisted around them, brushing against her skin like icy fingers. The symbols on the wall gleamed, pulsating, as if inviting them to understand, to decipher their deadly secrets. What do we do?" Toby whimpered, his eyes wide and filled with terror. Rachel could sense his fear like a living thing, suffocating thick as the dark fog that enveloped them. "Stay close, keep your eyes on me," Rachel urged, her voice trembling but resolute. She took a deep breath, trying to steady herself in a world where every corner held a new nightmare. The laughter faded, replaced by a whisper that slithered through the air like smoke. "You can't run from your fate. You must entertain the darkness if you wish to live." A chill ran down Rachel's spine, those words echoed in her mind, as if they were pulling her towards an ominous realization. She stepped towards the glowing symbols, and with each movement, she felt the shadows pulse around her, alive and interested. "What if we don't want to play your games?" Rachel shouted, her voice fierce despite the tremors within her. The symbols flickered, casting eerie shadows over the walls, and the laughter morphed into a guttural hissing. "Oh, but it is always a game, the game of life and death. You play to win, only one can escape." Suddenly, the fabric hanging from the walls whipped around them violently, as if an unseen wind was unleashed. Rachel and Toby stumbled back, falling into the shadows where the laughter turned into frantic wailing. "Mommy!" Toby screamed, eyes darting around, searching for anyone to protect him. Before she could react, a figure darted into the dim light, its face familiar yet horrifyingly distorted. Rachel gasped. "No. It can't be." The figure stretched toward her, arms reaching, mouth moving in silent screams. Memories flooded back her old friend, Elaine, trapped in a realm of torment. "Help me, I can't get out." The figure mouthed, eyes bulging with fear. "Elaine." Rachel's heart sank. "What happened to you?" The shadowy form shimmered, flickering like a damaged projection. "You need to make a choice, Rachel. Save your son or save me. Time is running out." Desperation cut through Rachel like a knife. "I can't choose. I want to choose." Yet even as she shouted, she felt the weight of decision pushing down on her, as if the very fabric of the room strained under its gravity. A sudden crash of glass revealed the splintering of broken memories. More faces emerged, begging, pleading for help, each one familiar yet twisted, tethered to the world beyond these walls. They echoed through Rachel's mind, forming a haunting chorus. "Make a choice. Choose to join us." "No." Rachel cried, her voice laced with panic. She turned back to Toby, who looked up at her with innocent, terrified eyes. "We're leaving." Grasping his small hand, she urged him to run, navigating through the chaos as shadows consumed the flickering light behind them. The symbols throbbed angrily, pulsating with threats seeking to tear them apart. As they barreled toward the far wall, Rachel saw the shadows reach out, long, claw-like fingers stretching hungrily, yearning to snatch them back into despair. "Move, Toby. Don't look back." Rachel shouted, forcing the pace, pushing through the panic that clawed at her mind. With each step, she felt the shadows nipping at their heels, whispering promises of pain, pulling her back toward the darkness she fought so hard to escape. When they finally reached a heavy door, Rachel flung it open, and the fluorescent light spilled into the room, chasing away the shadows momentarily. Yet, even as hope surged, a tension gripped her throat. The door led to another room, but was it salvation or deeper darkness? Toby's small hand squeezed hers, grounding her just as the laughter roared behind them, reverberating in her skull. What came before doesn't matter, only what follows. The moment hung heavy, every nervous breath threatening. Everything that lay beyond the door. Rachel glanced back, dread pooling in her stomach. What lies beyond this threshold, Toby? Is it the way out? In the break of silence, the shadows raged behind them, their laughter growing into a frenzy. Mom! We have to go now. Toby's urgency spurred her into action. Pushing forward, they stepped into the light, ready to face whatever awaited them. But the door slammed shut behind them with a deafening echo, sealing off the horrors they thought they left behind. An uneasy stillness draped over them, and a sense of dread replaced the brightness of hope. With heart palpitating, fate hanging in the balance, Rachel whispered, "What have we really escaped?" But the answer lingered just out of reach, lurking in the shadows like a predator waiting for the right moment to strike. The fluorescent light flickered above them as the doors slammed shut, casting jagged shadows that crawled across the floor. Rachel pulled Toby in tight, her breath quickening, sharp and frantic. The silence that enveloped them was almost tangible, thick like fog, wrapping around them and squeezing the last of their courage. "What now?" she whispered, barely able to voice the question that clawed at her throat. They stood in what looked like a narrow corridor, a far cry from the chaos they had just escaped. The walls were lined with faded wallpaper, peeling at the edges, and the floorboards creaked under their weight. But there was something unnerving about the air, sour and musty, as if the corridor had been forgotten by time. Without a sound, a door at the far end of the corridor creaked open. Rachel's heart leaped, but it was not a place of refuge. Instead, the figure of a woman appeared, her face obscured by shadows. She wore a long, dark dress, and her hair fell over her shoulders like a veil of night. "Welcome," she breathed, her voice low and hypnotic, sending chills down Rachel's spine. "You've been chosen for a game. One that only the strongest can survive." Rachel felt a surge of panic. "What do you want from us?" The woman smiled, a smirk that twisted her lips as if she relished the fear radiating from Rachel. "To play, of course. You're drawn to the darkness, aren't you? The symbols called to you." "No. We didn't," Rachel began, but the woman interrupted. "Choose wisely, the darkness doesn't take kindly to refusal." A feeling of dread seeped into Rachel's bones. Spurred by instinct, she dashed down the corridor, dragging Toby behind her. Every heartbeat echoed with the weight of the woman's words, reverberating in her mind. Behind them, whispers slithered through the corridor, curling around them like smoke, echoing their fears. Play or perish. Ignoring the eerie sounds, Rachel searched for a way out. Ahead, another door appeared, stained and splintered but standing ajar. A faint glow emanated from within, beckoning them like a siren. "Mom, I'm scared." Toby's small voice pierced through her rising panic. "We can't stop now," she urged, forcing herself to focus. "We need to find a way out, come on." Just as they reached the door, it swung open fiercely, revealing a room filled with mirrors. Reflections distorted their images, twisting them into grotesque forms. Rachel gasped when she saw there were more than just their reflections beneath the surface. Other faces snarled and cried, their eyes wide with terror. "Look away!" Rachel shouted, yanking Toby close. But the more they tried to turn from the mirrors, the stronger the pull became, dragging them inward. "No! Not again!" Toby's voice trembled, fear clawing at his throat. Rachel felt the world spinning as they stood at the threshold, the mirrors mocking their every move. "Toby, we need to remember why we are here," she whispered. "We can't let it win." Suddenly, a loud crash echoed behind them, and the woman from the corridor stepped into the room, her smile widening as she surveyed them. "How delightful. You've reached my favorite part of the game." Rachel turned, panic rising anew. "What do you want?" The woman waved her hand, and the mirrors rippled like water, showing flashes of their past moments of fear, sorrow, failures. "To reflect upon your choice. To see if you will sacrifice each other to escape." "No. "We won!" Rachel shouted, desperation overriding her instincts. The woman tilted her head, her eyes glinting with a predatory hunger. "Sacrifice, my dear, is the only way to break the curse. One must love deeply to survive." As the room began to warp, twisting her surroundings into nightmarish visions, Rachel felt the walls of her courage begin to crumble. Gripped by an icy fear, she clung to Toby, her heart pounding, racing against time. "We won!" Play your game. But in the depths of her mind, she wondered, could she truly protect him? The mirrors shimmered violently now, threatening to consume them both. The echoing laughter returned, swirling with the shadows until it felt like the walls were closing in. Choices, choose to save him, or lose him forever. Rachel's world spun with terrifying clarity, pushing her to the edge of desperation. What would she sacrifice to save her son from this madness? Outside, the darkness waited, still hungry for their pain. Each breath came heavier as she tightened her grip on Toby. "Whatever it takes, we'll find a way out." But as the shadows clawed at their ankles and the laughter roared around them, Rachel knew they were far from free. What horrifying choice lay before them now? Would her love for Toby be enough to break the curse, or would the darkness claim them both? The moment the mirrors rippled, Rachel screamed, tugging at Toby to pull him away. But the air thickened, making their escape feel like wading through molasses. The laughter shrieked louder, mocking her desperation. "Mom, I can't breathe." Toby gasped as the darkness threatened to engulf them. Panic surged through Rachel. She had to think, had to act fast. But the shadows weren't just closing in, they were whispering, their voices twisting into haunting echoes of her own thoughts. Choose, or be chosen. Stop it." Rachel shouted, her voice cracking. She shut her eyes tight, trying to drown out the noise, the reflections that turned more grotesque with each heartbeat. "Look!" Toby pointed to the mirror right in front of them. For a moment, the horrifying images faded, and their own faces shone back at them, wide-eyed and terrified. But then, out of the corner of her eye, Rachel saw it a flicker. In the reflection, behind her, the woman's form shimmered and shifted, like a ghost barely trapped in the glass. She wore that same twisted smile, eyes gleaming with anticipation. "The key to your freedom is sacrifice," she crooned. "But is it worth it, dear mother?" Fury erupted inside Rachel, fueling her resolve. "We won!" Sacrifice anything. She stood tall, fists clenched. "We're leaving. Right now." With a fierce determination, she turned Toby towards the door, pushing forward, resolute in her mission to escape. But as they took a step, the floor beneath them began to tremble violently. The mirrors rippled again, wrenching her gaze back to the reflective surface. "Mom!" Toby cried out, fear radiating from him like a beacon. The shadows flicked at him like serpents, trying to weave around his legs, seeking to drag him down into the abyss. "No!" Rachel shouted, but her voice was nearly swallowed by the swelling chaos. In that moment, the room flickered like a broken film reel, displaying scenes of her life with Toby, the laughter, the joy, the moments that made them a family. But then, interlaced, she saw events steeped in guilt, anger, and hardship, each one ripping at her heart, pulling her deeper into despair. "Remember this?" the woman hissed, her form still shimmering, hovering inches from the surface. "It's all your fault. You've failed him countless times. Can't you see it?" Rachel gritted her teeth through the wave of sadness that threatened to overwhelm her. "I want to let you do this," she shouted. "You can't use our past to control us." But deep down, she felt the pull. Every heart-wrenching memory weighed on her like a stone. Closing her eyes again, she breathed slowly. "Toby, we have to focus. We're stronger than this," she said, sounding far more confident than she felt. Gritting her teeth, she reached for the closest mirror, the one showing their reflections. "We can break the game," she mumbled, even as uncertainty gnawed at her confidence. "Strength and love together." Suddenly, the mirrors began to crack, splintering with webs of darkness. The woman screeched, her face twisting in rage. "You think you can escape? You don't understand the depths of despair." Rachel felt the ground rumble harder, churning like a storm. The air crackled, and in a flurry, the shattered reflections erupted in chaos, sending shards flying outwards, each slice glinting like a deadly star. "Get down!" She pulled Toby close, guarding him as best as she could. She could feel the weight of each fractured memory pulling at her heartstrings, wrestling for control. The darkness roared around them, and for a moment, she felt faint, lost in the echoes of their lives. But then, she thought of the times she held him tight against the shadows of the world. The warmth of his laughter. "We will survive." In a surge of hope and defiance, she grasped Toby's hand tight. "We break free together." And with that declaration, she lunged forward, toward the glowing light beyond the chaos. As they tore through the door, the world exploded behind them, the laugh of the woman fading into a scream of anguish. They stumbled into the next room, collapsing against the wall, breathless. But the glow began to dim, and new shadows crept closer. "Mom," Toby whispered, eyes wide with confusion. Rachel turned, her heart racing. What did we just do? Where are we really?" Beyond them, a new shape materialized, cloaked in the dimness. It loomed larger, an ominous presence filled with waiting shadows. "Welcome back," the voice slithered through the air, sending chills down her spine. What new horror awaited them now in this unending nightmare? The shadows writhed around them, a living presence that hung heavy in the air. Rachel's heart raced. "We need to stay together, Toby," she gasped, scanning the room, filled with looming darkness. This new space felt like the mouth of a beast, ready to swallow them whole. The solitude of the moment offered no reassurance, whispers curled around her ears, taunting and beckoning. As the figure stepped forward into the dim light, Rachel's stomach twisted. It was the woman again, but this time, her smile was more menacing, her eyes narrowed in delight. "You thought endurance would save you? The truth is far more horrific," she hissed, hands outstretched as shadows danced enthusiastically around her. "What do you want from us?" Rachel shouted, desperation and rage mingling in her voice. "We just want to leave." The woman tilted her head, mocking. "Leave? Oh no, dear. The game has only just begun. You must face the truth about yourselves. You can't keep us here." Rachel refused to back down. "We've seen your darkness, and it won't bind us." Toby clutched her leg, his small voice trembling. "Mommy, I don't want to play. I'm tired." Rachel knelt to him, brushing back hair plastered against his forehead. "I know, sweetheart. But we have to be brave just a little longer." "This isn't about bravery," the woman interjected. "It's about sacrifice. Only by facing the darkness within can you hope to escape." The ground trembled slightly, and as it did, the shadows whipped into a maelstrom, exhibiting the art of their nightmares. Faces of the lost children, mothers, tortured spirits swirled like leaves caught in a storm. Rachel felt fear clutching at her heart again, nearly overpowering her will. "Look closely," the woman urged, her fingers twisting as if conducting the chaos. "Which of you would willingly give up your own for the other's freedom?" "No!" Rachel shouted, pulling Toby closer, shielding him with her body. "I won't let that happen." Yet the weight of the reflections pressed against her soul, each memory gripping her with cold fingers. The voices cried out in a unity of despair, "Choose." A flicker of doubt ignited deep within Rachel's core. Was her love strong enough to withstand even the darkest trials? This was not just a game, it was a test, and the stakes were higher than she had ever imagined. Desperation pulsed through her, and she turned to Toby, looking deep into his innocent, wide eyes. "I love you," she breathed, squeezing his hand. "We can make it. Together. We will make it." Toby echoed, a flicker of courage igniting in his small face. "You're my mommy. I'm with you." It was the power of their bond that broke through the haze of fear. Rachel straightened, defiance igniting anew. You may want to see us suffer, but your darkness won't claim us. We choose each other. The shadows recoiled as if her words were some kind of poison, thrusting themselves back, howling in rage. Suddenly, the room began to splinter, the reflections growing clearer, the figures behind the glass shifting from anguish to confusion. Leave while you can. They roared, voices mingling in a tide of terror. Come on, Toby. Rachel shouted, darting toward the only door visible brighter and more inviting than it had ever been. With renewed determination, the two raced toward it, the darkness boiling behind them, rageful shrieks chasing them as they reached for the handle. Do not turn back. Rachel directed, feeling the shadows clawing at them, desperate to reclaim their bond, promising horrors they could only hint at. With one desperate twist of the handle, they broke through the door, pouring into the blinding light beyond. It poured over them like a wave, a balm to the fear-riddled hearts they had fought so hard to protect. Rachel gasped, the light filling her senses, pushing against the shadows that hissed in defeat behind them. When the brilliance finally faded, Rachel was surprised to find they were no longer in the complex. Instead, they stood in an abandoned park bathed in sunlight, the air fresh and sweet. Birds chirped nearby, the rustle of the leaves above felt soothing, and laughter floated on the breeze. Rachel's heart lurched with disbelief. They had escaped. Turning to Toby, she swept him into her arms, tears springing to her eyes. We did it. We're free. I knew we would, Mommy. He beamed, his joy radiating pure light. For the first time in what felt like ages, Rachel laughed, the sound ringing joyous and full in her ears, as she gripped Toby tight against her chest. But as she glanced over her shoulder, just for an instant, the oppressive shadows faded into indistinct forms, murmuring quietly, as if promising a return. Yet she shrugged off the thought and focused on what mattered: her son, their freedom, and the new life waiting ahead. Rachel and Toby walked away from the echoes of horror, stepping into a world filled with possibility, hand in hand. But as darkness faltered behind them, Rachel knew one eternal truth: they had faced the abyss and emerged stronger, resilient. Leaving behind the haunted complex would always mean keeping their bond as a shield against despair. Whatever happens, Toby, she whispered, looking down into his trusting eyes, we will always choose each other. And together, they stepped toward a new horizon, proclaiming their love defiantly against the backdrop of the shadows they had left behind. The darkness may whisper, but love speaks louder. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that dive even deeper into adrenaline and emotion. Smash that like button. Your support fuels this channel like nothing else. Flood the comments section with your thoughts on this ending. What would you have chosen? And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this epic conclusion. Only the true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel.